Welcome back to another interesting tutorial. I'll be teaching you how to sew this beautiful patterned blouse you are seeing right here on the video and on the thumbnail. I'll be sharing with you the tips and tricks to making these patterns. The first thing you are going to do is to draft out the basic bodies for the blouse. So from the shoulder, you mark your chest line, bust point, under bust, waistline. From the waistline, I'll just count 7 inches below. You can also make it 8 inches below your waistline. That will be the top full length. After that, I'll mark my lines again to get a straight line. Next, I'm going to rule my lines across. After ruling my line, this is the shoulder line, chest line, bust point, under bust, waistline, and the full length. Next, we are going to mark your shoulder divide by 2 on the shoulder line. You mark it also on the chest line. The neck width is 3.5 inches. I came down by 1 inch for my shoulder drop. You mark a straight line for your armhole. Then you get the midpoint of your armhole, go in by 3/4 of an inch, connect with a straight line. On the chest line, you are going to mark your bust circumference divide by 4, connect your armhole accordingly. Next, you come over to your bust line. We are going to mark the bust span divide by 2, that is nipple to nipple divide by 2. You mark it on the bust line, on the waistline, and on the hip line, and connect your dart leg. My dart intake is 1.5 in total, which is 3/4 of an inch or 0.75 on both sides, and I'm going to connect my dart accordingly. After connecting the dart, next you come over to the waistline, measure your waist divide by 4. Then add 1.5 inch of your dart. You can now go ahead and close up the sides of your pattern. Now on the full length, I'm going to mark my hip circumference divide by 4. Then I added 1/2 inch for ease. You add 1/2 inch for ease. After that, my bust dart is 2 inches. The bust dart is the difference between your full length for the front and your full length for the back. You go ahead and connect your bust dart. So mine is 2 inches, and 2 inches can be standard too. So I come down by 6 inches for my neck yoke line. Then get the midpoint of your shoulder seam line and connect to the bust point. This is for the over bust dart. On the over bust dart, I'm going to share 0.75 on each side. Then I'm going to connect, making it 1.5 inches for the over bust dart. Neck depth is 3.5 inches and neck width is 3.5 inches. So I connected 3.5 by 3.5 inches this way. So you can go ahead and freehand that neckline if your ruler is not giving you exactly what you want. Now we want to try making the patterns, which is the main purpose of this tutorial. But before that, please connect the part of that over bust. Just blend it right into your armhole this way. So you can see how I blended it. So that is how it's going to go. Now to make those scallops on the upper part of the yoke, you are going to come down by 1 inch for your neckline. From that neckline, come down by 1 inch, and you come out by 1 inch too from the first dart. So I'm trying to position my ruler so we'll be able to connect that point. So here I've connected it, and we want to also create the other pattern. To create the other scallop, sorry, I went ahead to close up my bust dart. So I'll step down by 1 inch and create that part. Then I will come up by 1 inch again and blend. So I will just want to use my pattern ruler, so I'll be able to blend that part very well the way I wanted it. Now after blending into the armhole, you also place your pattern ruler this way and blend this part. So just use your hand and blend it all this way, and that is exactly what we are going to have for this particular scallops. The second thought, I now thought of bringing it down a little bit because I noticed that the one on the side of the armhole is a little bit lower. So just blend it a little bit down, okay? Now we want to contour the underbust. So on the underbust line, you just take your underbust measurement, divide by 4. Whatever you have remaining, you put 0.25 in front and the rest by the side. But you can go ahead and use any underbust contour line that you are familiar with, but this really works for me. Now I'm going to connect the underbust dart to the main dart this way. Right now we are almost done. So I thought of bringing the neckline at 3 inches. I mean the neck depth, I made it 3 inches instead of 3.5. So we'll be able to have a little bigger space on the upper part there. So this is it. We'll go over to the down part of this pattern. For the lower part, you come down by 3.5 inches on the side of the waistline, 3.5 inches. Then you mark out a line, measure 1.5 inches. That is for the conical part of this corset. So I'm going to connect that 1.5 to the waistline. So it has just a little conical corset on the side. Now we'll come over to the down part. You come up by 2 inches from the dart and come down by 1 inch at the center front. This will help you to connect the down part this way. Now after connecting the down part, next from that line, measure 2 inches also. From that 2 inches, you measure another 3 inches or 3.5 inches. So this depends on your body size, okay? Then you get the midpoint of the 3.5 and you mark the center line this way. So you just go ahead and blend up the lines like this, okay? So there's no specific measurement about this. Just keep placing your ruler the way you see me place right here. So from that point, I totally connected this other point. Then make sure you always blend at all times. Next, you are going to place your ruler on the same height of the first curve and mark a line. Then we are going to extend that scallop on the down part to that point. Now you are going to place the inner part of your ruler to touch the scallop, that is to close up the sides as shown. At that leg, I decided to come up a little bit more by 1 inch. At this point, I just want to connect with a sharp line because I noticed that the second scallop is pointy. So I also connected to the heights of that first one. Just make the heights to be equal. So I blended it up back. So we are cancelling the first line we are using. Now I connected with a sharp V again. Okay, so the center scallop should be a sharp V. Then you blend it down. So sorry about the too many lines, but just follow what I'm doing. You understand how to go about it. So I created the curves as you can see, and we are done with the front piece. Next, we want to go over to cut this pattern. So this is how I'm going to cut. So I'm going to show my cutting so you actually know the lines I'm making use of. So here I went with the second line I made, then took it into the sharp point as you can see. So this really gave us exactly what is required for this dress. Next, I will go over to the under or to the bust point line and then cut out the shoulder seam line. We are going to cut on the neckline. Next, you are going to cut through the yoke line. So I'm taking the yoke line which I stepped down a little bit downwards, and we are going to cut through the first line. Okay, I tried test running another second line, but that did not work. So just go through the first line, and this is what you have after you are done. So this is the center front line. Make sure you write it down, and the yoke line as well. So after cutting out the yoke, you can now go ahead and cut out the overbust dart this way. So I take off my overbust dart, and then I'm going to close up my bust dart. This is me closing up the bust dart. So after you are done closing up the bust dart, we'll continue to cut through the dart this way. So here is the dart. I'll just cut it out as shown. Now after cutting out the dart, we are going to match the lines. This is just to be sure that we have exactly what we need. So if you match the lines, you are going to have something like this. So you bring in the yoke this way. Okay, so once you bring in the yoke, then you can now blend up the line. So I want you to pay attention to see what I'm doing. So if you bring in your yoke like this, try to follow the line of the yoke, and if you follow the line of the yoke, you can see the blend. So I'll just go ahead and trim that blend off. So if you trim it off, it will match accordingly. So this is the front dress right now. We'll go over to the back piece. I'm going to label my patterns F1, F2. So when sewing it, it will not confuse me. So this is the front pattern now. For the back pattern piece, I brought back the part of paper that I just cut off. So I'm going to join my paper. After joining the papers right now, next I'm going to extend my lines. Here is my shoulder line, my chest line, and the waistline. Because of the bust dart technique of 2 inches, I'll just come up on the waistline by 2 inches. Then I'm going to mark a straight line. So here is my center back. On the shoulder line, I'll mark my shoulder divide by 2. I'll also mark it on the chest line. My neck width is 3 inches. I'm going to step down by 1 inch for the shoulder drop and connect my shoulder slant. Then connect my armhole. I'll get the midpoint of my armhole. I'll go in by 0.5 inches. Then connect. On the chest line, you are going to mark your bust divide by 4 and connect your armhole. The back is pretty easy. So I'm going to place my tape on the shoulder to mark the full length. So remember that the front length was 24 inches. So you just take away 2 inches and mark 22 inches for the back length because of the bust dart technique. This is the blouse length. Here is my waistline, and this is the chest line. Next, we are going to mark our waist divide by 4, then add 1 inch for the dart. Then you get the midpoint for your dart. Mark it on the chest line and on the blouse length. I'm going to draw the dart leg for the back. The dart intake is 1 inch, so I'll share half an inch, half an. Next, I'm going to connect half inch for my dart line. So after connecting the dart line, we are going to contour by 1 inch. So you go in on the waistline by 1 inch and replace it on the side. This is to avoid zipper bulge. So I'll just go ahead and connect it this way. Next, I will also mark on the full length my hip divide by 4, then add half an inch for ease. Then if you look at the chest line, you will see we have some part that went into the zipper bulge. I will replace it on the side. Now I'm going to close up the sides of the dress. After that is done, I'm going to mark the neck width. The neck width is 1 inch for the back. The neck depth, is 1 inch. So I'll connect the neck depth. Now the dress is going to have a yoke at the back. So I'm trying to take the measurement of my yoke line at 7 inches. That is the depth of my neckline. So you can connect straight, you can connect slanted. So I decided to connect to the chest line rather. So I mark 2 inches below the mid armhole and connect to the chest line. Then you connect your dart to touch the line. You can put buttons, straight buttons, or you can decide to come down 2 inches from your neckline and then connect all the way to the dart this way. So here is my yoke line. So you can use any yoke design of your choice for the back piece. Now I'm going to bring in the front piece. You know there's a little conical shape on the side. So to get that accurately, just bring back your back piece, lay it on the waistline this way. And we are going to trace out what we have right there. So you just trace it out this way. Then once I get to that line, I'll bring in the front piece. Here is my front piece, so I'll just lay it this way too. Then you connect the back this way. So that is how to go about that shape. Instead of taking the shape again, you just connect it in this form. Next, we'll begin to cut out the pattern. This is B1, B2, and that is the zipper line. I'll go ahead and cut the patterns accordingly. Starting from the neckline, I'll cut into the shoulder seam line. I'll take it all the way to the armhole. Then take it all the way to the sides. We'll take it to the scallops. And then we'll cut through the scallops the way you see me cut right here. So make sure you trim it very well. And this is how it's going to be stitched too. So you just go ahead and stitch it the way it's curving. Then we'll cut out the back yoke design. So you can decide to go through this, any part of the yoke design you want. Next, you cut out the darts as shown. This is it, and this is how it's going to look like at the end of the day. So we are done with the back pattern piece, and we are done with the front pattern piece too. So if you are sewing this pattern, after cutting your main fabric and hairstay it, your lining also, you place them right side to right side the normal way we stitch, and stitch the scallop designs. I just want to show you how to sew the front. So I'm pretending using my masking tape as if I've stitched the pattern. So like I said, you cut your main fabric, hairstay it, cut your lining, hairstay it too. Then you are going to add your seam allowance of ½ inch in between to stitch it. Then on the side, you can add 2 inches for the side seam. So I'm going to just join this with my masking tape just to show you how you are going to stitch. So this is it. After joining it, now we are done joining our main fabric. So, and we've stitched our lining. So you are going to stitch the scallops on the neckline with your lining before placing your yoke. You finish the sewing of the neckline, then place your yoke under it and top stitch the yoke on top. Please don't try to put the yoke in between the lining and the fabric. It's going to be very difficult for you. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next.